Hi, I'm Dr. Nicholas Dogris, and I'm going to show you how to use the NeuroField 64 platform for conducting a synchronized neurofeedback and neuromodulation session. So you start NeuroField 64. The program fires up here. We have two X3000s and two Genesis stimulation units attached to the computer, along with one Q21 EEG. So here you can see the units here for the EMF, and then the Genesis units, and then the Q21. So we click on USB number 1, and the program starts up. You're going to select your patient, and then from there you click on the check mark, and here you do your stimulation setup. So I'm going to enable my two EMF units and my two Genesis units. Then what I'm going to do is select my protocol. So you click on Select Protocol. Now we're going to do a hypothetical case here where we have a person with excessive theta and a deficiency in beta 1. So in the NeuroField world, we would train down the theta using neurofeedback and give the beta 1 SMR using the neurostimulation devices that we have. So I'm going to choose SMR 13 to 15 hertz and load the protocol. Save and continue. Then I'm going to choose my sites where I'm going to place my EMF coils. I can choose all of these here, F3, F4. Let's say we had a midline deficiency of SMR. P3, P4, all the way to O1 and O2. And then we can place our Genesis units, and we can do a F7 and F8 stimulation, along with FPZ to OZ. This would enable us to give beta 1 to all these regions. We want to set the amount of loops to 3, which typically is enough to run the session. And then we click on Save and Continue. Now here we want to enable the EEG neurofeedback. So we click on EEG, and you can see that Q20 is selected here. We want to use the feedback mechanism. You can use a tone. You could use any of the Zucore games, including the Zucore media player, or you could use the transparency window. The Zucore media player and games are an extra cost with the system, but the transparency window and tone come with NeuroField 64 right out of the box. It makes it very easy to see the feedback. So we're going to use the transparency window. And there you can see it's rather transparent, and you can resize this. The use of this window is so that on a secondary monitor, you would open Netflix, for instance, start the Netflix window, then open the transparency window, and you would drag this over to the secondary monitor and maximize it. So this is going to either be transparent or it's not going to be transparent, and it's going to change and fluctuate very quickly, as you will soon see. This will give feedback to the person. So we have it set for amplitude training. And then we're going to choose the two different kinds of feedback, the synchronized feedback that we're going to use here. RTH, RTZ is what we call grade school type of neurofeedback. So what happens is that the EEG runs, and it's going to run for X amount of time that you designate. When it's done, NeuroField is going to calculate the data and determine whether or not you met the threshold for the percentage amount of time that you indicated. So if you said that you have to meet the threshold 50% of the time, NeuroField will calculate that and then determine a yes or no response. If it's a yes response, then NeuroField will give you a specific type of stimulation. If it's a no response, NeuroField will modulate the stimulation and give you something different. So we're going to set the training time to 2-minute rounds. Do that over here. And we're going to go forward. Now you can run this with a full 19-channel EEG, or you can do electrodes and use the breakout box that comes with the Q21 and run up to 4 individual electrodes. We're going to do EEG cap here and run the full cap. Now once we get this all set up, we click on Save and Continue. And then NeuroField says, wait, we don't have any thresholds set up for this patient. Click OK, and now it's going to set up thresholds. If you click on the drop-down menu, you'll see it says delta 1 to -1 or delta down. Delta down, theta down, alpha down, this all implies amplitude training or down training. And we want to do down training, so I'm going to choose theta down. That's for F3, theta down for F4, theta down for C3, theta down for C4, and let's say we go down the midline here. Of course, you'd want your decisions to be driven by QEEG analysis. It will help you to make better choices as to what to train and where. So now, hypothetically, we're just setting this up. Once you have these sites set up, you click on Next. And it's asking you what's the percentage amount of time that we're going to ask her to create, to meet the thresholds, and we're going to say 50% of the time. So we save and continue. And once this is all done, it takes us to the Start Treatment tab, and we start the treatment. NeuroField sets up the EEG and will automatically launch a baseline recording. And there it goes, and it starts up. So as the EEG is running here, you can see the threshold levels as they're running. And what we want to do here is adjust the thresholds. Now, in order to do that, you click on this button here that says Adjust Thresholds. And then you click on Auto All one time. When you do that, then the program will automatically begin the neurofeedback piece. And I'm going to bring up the little transparency window here. And if the threshold's being met, then you're great. Then you can see right through it. But if it's not being met, then you won't be able to see what's being actually given here. If I can find my transparency window, which is rather transparent right now. All right. Now the session's running, and there's our transparency window. And you can see that we're getting some of the thresholds are being met a little bit of the time, which is the reason why it's a little bit transparent. Now you can make it where it's a little easier to meet the thresholds. And when it's very easy to meet the thresholds, the transparency window will be clear. And there you can see it's modulating. And again, imagine this over a Netflix movie, for instance. Now, if the levels aren't set correctly, then what you're going to want to do is go back to Adjust Thresholds and then reset the levels. But this response time is very fast, as the computer is measuring this data in about a 4-millisecond response time. So this is pretty cool. You can do a lot of different things in terms of watching the data. This side of the program would be where the operator of the software is controlling what's happening and making sure that the data is being collected correctly and the session's running correctly. Now you can see here a neurostimulation is being given, and it's given for 5 seconds, and now we're into the next round of neurofeedback. So we automatically start to see the transparency window start to modulate again. You can watch the session as it's going and see how the person's responding. You can also see the RMS levels and then real-time head maps to see in which direction the amplitude is being trained. And here it's being down trained, as you can see. You can also see the spectra data. If you click on this, you'll actually see this pop up and go to each one of the maps and take a look at what's happening in the spectra as the person goes through the session. All right. Now, when the session's over, you will be able to save the data. And I'm going to click on Stop Treatment here. And it will go through a 2-minute period of time where it collects baseline data. When it does that, it's going to save that into the patient database, and you can go back later and make comparisons and look at treatment progress for each session and for a series of sessions, and you can see how the person changes over time. RTH is a very effective method because you can actually train anything from delta to gamma. You can up train or down train. The adjust thresholds widget here allows you to set up all sorts of different kinds of paradigms for up training and down training. It also has a auto adjust that will keep on adjusting the threshold level for the amount of seconds that you designate. So every 15, 10, 5 seconds, you can make it readjust the levels. This makes treatment a little bit more rigorous and a little bit more difficult. So you can see here that the transparency window just popped up again and another treatment round just went by. When the program is done, it will display a completion window that will allow you to then stop the session and then save the data. So that's NeuroField 64, what we call RTH or real-time hit, using amplitude data, pulsed electromagnetic stimulation, and alternating current stimulation.